You know, sitting here reading the news, I think about when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, my mom was actually trying to be nice to me one night, and she gave me money to go into the grocery store and buy ice cream. And all she told me is, Eli, the only thing that I ask is that you do not buy cookies and cream ice cream. You can buy any other ice cream out there. I'd like to have some, and I don't like cookies and cream. Eli, remember, no cookies and cream. And you know what happened next. 10 minutes later, I walked out with cookies and cream ice cream. Because the only thing I remembered from that conversation was cookies and cream. I remember that cookies and cream is very important, and I don't want to make mommy mad. I'm going to make sure to get her that cookies and cream. You know, I'm starting to wonder if the presidents of the United States have the mentality of a 10-year-old. All of them. Trump, Biden, put them all in a pile. I wonder if they're all at about that 10-year-old education. Because we tell our presidents that we don't want inflation. Right? What is our major problem as citizens of the United States? And we scream out as one, inflation. Everybody can agree that inflation's bad. Democrats agree that inflation's bad. Republicans agree that inflation is bad. MAGA supporters, KKK, blue hairs, and black freedom fighters all agree inflation is bad. And then our presidents go, inflation. I remember that the population keeps telling me something about inflation. It's really important. I guess they want more of it. And so we had Biden, right? The Inflation Reduction Act. Inflation Reduction Act, one of the largest bills in U.S. history, literally states that in the title, Inflation Reduction Act. And what was it? That's right, the biggest piece of climate change legislation to ever be passed. It's like, what? But it's literally called the Inflation Reduction Act. So anyways, it's okay. Biden, our first dead president, get him the hell out of office. Bring in a businessman as president. He's gonna deal with inflation. Oh, by tariffing the ever-living hell out of everything and then telling us it's all gonna be fine. It's all gonna be fine. You're gonna get the inflation you've been asking for. So Ford, the biggest manufacturer in the United States, who has been having a heart attack. God bless the CEO of Ford. I do not know how he does it. Because he can't call our president a complete and utter moron, because that senile old loser will then not just punish him, but punish his company and everybody that works for his company. So he can't call our president a moron. At the exact same time, he's like, look, your moronic senile policies are destroying our company. He has to come on, he has to walk a fine line. But anyways, good news for you folks who like inflation. You like inflation? You got inflation. Ford increases prices on Mexico-built vehicles after tariff hike. Ford Motor Company is increasing prices on its Mexico-built vehicles by as much as $2,000, becoming one of the first automakers to announce a price hike because of tariffs. Changes on dealer invoices became effective May 2nd on the Maverick small pickup, Bronco sport SUV, and Mustang Mach-E all-electric crossover, according to the memo obtained by the Detroit News. That means affected vehicles will arrive on dealership lots in late June, the company confirmed. The Dearborn automaker attributed the hike to usual mid-year pricing action as well as tariffs. Quote, we have not passed on the full cost of tariffs to our customer. $2,000 price increase, and they have not passed on the full cost of tariffs to the customer. Ford spokesperson said, our approach throughout this evolving situation continues to be doing what's right for our customers and our business. Let's see here. Quote, we have to watch what our competitors do, Ford CEO Jim Farley said last week about pricing increases following Trump's tariff adjustments. Quote, that's the key. Half the industry in the U.S. is imported, and they have 5 to 10 $10,000 in costs. Will they just absorb those? Will they pass them on to customers? That will be a big decision because the pricing decision is a competitive decision. That's right. Trump is going to be charging you $5,000 to $10,000 in taxes for those imported vehicles. Oh, you wanted a fuel efficient small car? Guess what? You get to pay Trump $5,000 to $10,000 for that privilege. Money that's coming out of your pocket. Again, Ford, they're bringing it up by $2,000, and that's not even the entire tariff cost going to you. Don't you love Trump's economy? Trump's economy, less services, more taxes. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And then Mattel. Oh, I guess you're not going to be able to buy that Barbie Mustang because Mattel prices are going up. Mattel CEO says toy manufacturing won't come to America, but price hikes will, from CNBC. One of the goals of President Trump's 145% tariff against China is to drive manufacturing back to America, but the odds of that are low, at least when it comes to toys. Right? Quote, we don't see that happening, Mattel CEO Elon said on CNBC's Squawk Box. Quote, we need to remember that a significant part of toy creation happens in America, he said. Design, development, product engineering, brand management all happens in America. Making product, producing product in other countries allows us to create quality products at affordable prices. We go down here. In the meantime, Mattel is taking mitigating action to fully offset costs associated with Trump's trade war with China, including raising prices in the U.S. while aiming to keep the cost of many toys low. The company is expecting to keep between 40 and 50% of its products under $20, according to a Roth analyst. So yeah, that's right. That's right. Trump's America, Trump's economy. This is going to be interesting. It will be curious to see how it goes. I mean, that's the thing. You might not be able to afford a TV anymore or be able to afford popcorn or anything like that, but you will be able to kick back and watch your economy burn to the ground. Won't that be a fun thing? But again, this is an important thing to be looking at. Again, when Trump takes this money out of your pocket through taxes, this is money that cannot be spent other places. Again, $2,000. Again, I talk about billions of dollars. You know, $1 million is 20 man years, right? You think about something like $2,000, right? $2,000 is, you know, if you think going to some crappy fast food type place costs $20, right? You know, that's 100. That's 100 trips to your local eateries to grab a sandwich and a drink and fries or something like that. Or maybe a sandwich and a drink might not get you fries anymore, right? But that's 100 trips just for $2,000. You add $5,000 or $10,000 to the cost, again, that turns into 1,000 trips. Imagine people are now having to hand their cash over to Trump, right, to pay for the tax deductions that he wants to give to the wealthy. And while they hand over those thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for the products that they need, right, that then means there's less money to go into the local economy. Whether it's the hamburger place, whether it's the movie theater, whether it's the computer repair store, that is money being dragged out of our economy just to go to the Trump administration. And what I want you to be thinking about with is, again, that macro level forces, again, at scale. $1,000 goes here, $1,000 goes there, $1,000 goes there. At the exact same time, we're having hundreds of thousands of layoffs and the rest of it. And, right, you got all the other wonkadoodle crap going on. It's why you should be concerned about what's going on with the economy. So anyways, yay. Nothing else. Trump gives me something to talk about. You can't have a commentary channel without Trump as president. It's just not nearly as fun, I guess. Not nearly as profitable. Anyways, you may or may not know, I'm known as Eli, the computer guy. I run silicondojo.com. Basically, the idea is, what if high-quality technology education was simply as accessible as water? We have self-study classes over there. So we have Introduction to Programming, Introduction to Python, Introduction to SQL, something called the Bottle Web App Framework. You can just go and you can simply take those classes. They exist for you to take. Every Monday, I have conversations with my students between 1 to 5 where we talk about stacks. We can talk about tech stacks. I actually had some conversation about tech stacks yesterday. It was nice. I gotta say, it was nice to talk about tech stacks every once in a while. But anyways, generally, the only question is, how do I get a job? Anyways, those are, I don't know. Jump up and down on one foot as you pat your head and rub your belly and sing the Star Wars song. Is this really gonna get me a job? I don't know. It's as good as advice I can give you. What am I supposed to say? It's actually interesting with this jobs thing. As I was talking to some people a couple of nights ago, and they were talking about the AI crap. So apparently nowadays, people are getting AI to write resumes, which I guess it makes sense, right? There's this whole idea AI should do your work for you, so it might as well write your resume. I will put this out, because I was literally listening to two people who hire employees as they talked about this, and they literally said when they get AI written resumes in, it's like they have a taste. It's like there's a sniff to it. Like you can smell the AI on it. And they said it literally immediately goes in the trash can. They're like, every AI resume you receive, they all have that AI stink. And basically, if you can't be bothered to create your own damn resume, it goes immediately in the trash can. So I'll just put that out there for you. You do with it as you will. Oh my God, that's so horrible. Yeah. I'm not telling you it's a good system. I am telling you it's a system that we got. Anywho, so what are we talking about today? We are talking about the danger of artificial intelligence. Now, I gotta admit when I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes, not very often, I am completely and utterly wrong. Not just a little wrong, not just a wee bit off. Sometimes I am massively wrong. I have been talking about how artificial intelligence is not dangerous. I have been saying it's laughable to call artificial intelligence dangerous and an existential threat, and I've been just saying a lot of nasty stuff about this. But I have been proven wrong, and I have been proven wrong by the master himself. Elon Musk has proven to me how dangerous artificial intelligence actually is and why we need to be very, very, very concerned about it. Because apparently, Musks AI data center is putting out so much effing air pollution, local populations are having problems breathing. So yes, AI is in fact dangerous. It will kill your ass through air pollution. I find this interesting, again, especially being an American, where, again, I really do, like as an American, I really do have to ask this question of like, to what end? To what end? Where are we going at all? Like, it's weird. Again, for my generation, you have to understand, when I was going through college in the 90s, I was actually reading, papers and all of that kind of stuff on the question of within the next decade or so, whether there would be any need to work over 32 hours a week. Right? Again, this is the 90s. This is the 90s. All right, the dot-com boom was not quite a boom yet and the rest of it. But when you look at efficiency, when you look at manufacturing, when you look at, logistic systems and all that kind of stuff, like there was a legitimate question, there was a legitimate argument that the 40-hour work week was basically, we were coming to the expiration of that, and we really needed to start thinking about a society that had a 32-hour work week. And this wasn't from a socialist standpoint, this isn't from some kumbaya standpoint, it's just, look, it's becoming easier and easier to produce goods, it's becoming easier and easier to move goods around, like all these systems and all that kind of stuff. It just doesn't make a lot of sense anymore to even have people working 40 hours a week. We need to start looking at shorter work weeks because efficiency has gone up and ergo people don't need to work as much. And the weird thing is, that was the 90s. Again, 30 years ago, depending on where it was in the 90s. And, we're decades past that, and it seems like people are working more and more and more and more and more. As we have these systems that allow us to communicate more efficiently, and as manufacturing has become better and better, as all of this stuff has become better, everything weirdly has become more expensive. Housing is less expensive, or less affordable now than it was 30 years ago. And that simply doesn't make sense. Again, the manufacturing process and everything else, housing should be dirt cheap. Again, medical care. Maybe medical care shouldn't go down. Again, there's this whole argument with medical where new drugs are being produced, ergo those new drugs need a profit. So maybe medical wouldn't necessarily go down, but it's been double, triple inflation now for decades. Again, I spend like $550 a month on medical insurance, and literally I haven't been to the doctor in 3 years. I just don't get around to it. I just don't need it. I get eczema every once in a while. That's about it. Right? I'm literally going to my yearly appointment in a month just because I'm supposed to, because I'm almost 50. But I'm doing it because I'm supposed to. Right? I'm spending $6,000 a year on insurance I basically don't even use, right? And again, you look at like so much of this stuff going on, and you're like, what the hell? Where are we going? Like, what are we actually trying to accomplish here? And I think about Jamestown. So way back when, right, one of the first colonies, or maybe the first colony in the United States, Jamestown, right, they figured out that they could plant tobacco. And tobacco was green gold back then, right? Tobacco was addictive. Everybody loved tobacco. There were no smoking signs out there, so everybody wanted to smoke and the rest of it. So anyways, it was interesting. I went to Jamestown years ago, and they were talking about the governor of Jamestown. At one point, literally had to pass a law to get the colonists of Jamestown to plant fucking vegetables, right? Potatoes and such. And the reason was, right, so you get the colonists, they come to Jamestown, and then, tobacco is, green gold. And so they come, and like anywhere they can plant something, they plant tobacco. Can you imagine a possible problem with that? You're like, well, I don't understand, Eli. If tobacco is green gold and they go around and anywhere you can plant something, they plant tobacco, what's the issue? They didn't have enough food to eat. They were literally planting tobacco instead of planting potatoes. And the issue is, let's face it, how societies work. If one person does that, if two people do it, if like 10% of the population does it, they're assholes, but society can keep moving forward. If everybody plants tobacco and nobody plants potatoes, people start starving to death. They're very wealthy when they starve to death, right? But I think about that, again, our modern world in the United States, where I just look around and I just ask myself, like, what are we doing? What are we moving towards? We have fancier houses with Italian marble. We have bigger TVs. It's like we have more of this wealth stuff, but actually being able to afford housing and health care and being in clean environments is still something that's just, it's not our focus or priority. Again, the interesting thing to think about, again, with things like air pollution, right? This pollution stuff. Again, I'm not Pollyannish about this, right? When this stuff came out, again, do you care about clean air or do you care about heat? Again, everybody's all about clean air until it's 10 degrees outside and you have no heat in the house, right? How degraded air are you willing to breathe in order to actually be in a warm house where you're not going to freeze to death, like, right? But that's the thing, is now, again, with the solar panels and a lot of this other technology we have, I mean, we can do a lot of stuff to improve, again, things like pollution and all that. We don't have to live in these crappy environments the way that we did before. But the curious thing is that there doesn't really seem to be a push to truly improve the quality of life in the United States, right? It's more stuff. It's more stuff. Eli, who needs better air when you can buy your 50th Raspberry Pi or something like that? And why this becomes interesting is with the whole artificial intelligence race. Again, one of the things that I've been arguing about for a long time, right, is this is horse crap. The AI arms race is horse crap. This is big tech trying to rape America just so they can get just a little bit more of that sweet blood money. Not that our LLMs, not this kind of stuff isn't impressive and interesting, but this idea that it's an existential threat to humanity, ergo we basically have to do anything possible in order to stay at the forefront of it, right? This is about the worst of our society convincing us what we have to give up in order for them to get their extra ounces of blood money. And that's with, again, we see a lot of the China policy issues there, not selling them AI chips because, oh my golly, what if China man uses AI? But what then becomes interesting is like with Musk and a lot of these other companies with things like air pollution. Not only Musk, again, before we get into this with Musk, Google agrees to fund development of 3 nuclear power sites. Again, and this is where we start talking about how much electricity AI burns, right? You go to ChatGPT, you don't think about it. You plug something in and you get an answer. But think about this. Google alone is talking about funding 3 nuclear power sites. Microsoft looks like it's going to be taking the energy from a single nuclear power site. Nuclear power, right? Entire power facilities that were built in order to power towns and cities are now basically being used just to power AI infrastructure. And again, at what point do we look at this and start questioning where the real value actually is? If we go and we take a look at this with Politico, quote, how come I can't breathe? Musk's data company draws a backlash in Memphis. The company's turbines, enough to power 280,000 homes, run without emissions controls in an area that leads Tennessee in asthma hospitalizations. 280,000 homes. That much power is being driven into one single data center. And then think about what Google is doing, and then think about what Microsoft is doing, and then think about what Anthropic is doing, and then think about what all these other jackass companies are doing. Is this really the best use of our resources as a country? Is this going to get, and that's the important thing to be thinking about here. Is this going to get us more houses? I mean, do we really need art? Because you hear about artificial and blah, blah, blah. Is our problem with housing somehow going to be solved with artificial intelligence? Is our problem with our healthcare system? So we have a family member right now who's terminally ill, going through the healthcare system. And it's just a crap show. It's just a crap show, right? But it's a crap show of management. It's a crap show of resources. It's a crap show of communication. Right? There's a lot of problems with our healthcare system right now in the United States. But so much of it, right? It's not about recombinating DNA or anything like that. It's getting nurses to communicate properly. It's actually forcing doctors to come back and talk to you once in a 24-hour period after they do major surgery on your ass. It's about finding bedrooms and that type of stuff to put people for things like rehab. It's about things like how do you fund home health aides? Again, it's interesting. We have a family member, again, paying out of pocket for home health aides. Holy bejesus. Holy bejesus. Oh, I mean, that is just, but you think about it, you think about it, and you have people that are giving a lot of care, and then they've got to be paid. And again, in this society where housing prices are over $400,000 a year, so if the average house is over $400,000, that means you need to make $110,000 per year to be able to afford a house in our current market. So if you have a home health aide, right, you would think those type of people, you would want them to be able to buy a house. Ergo, they should make somewhere around $100,000 a year. Ergo, every week of payment for them needs to be like $2,000 plus per. Per. And that doesn't even include management fees and other stuff that gets on top of that. And here's the thing, is AI going to solve that? Is AI going to wipe your ass when you need your asses wiped? No, right? And that's the concern that I have, again, with so much of this focus, is there's this idea that artificial intelligence is somehow going to magically solve our problems. But if you actually look at the problems our society has, very little of it is touched by artificial intelligence, or could massively be improved by artificial intelligence. Most of the issues we have in our society are just boring ass management, logistic, financing type issues. So anyways, we're burning enough energy for 280,000 homes per AI initiative. At the exact same time, people can't afford the electricity for their houses. That's one of the interesting things too with this, is they talk about in certain areas, again, we've heard that before with Bitcoin, where the price of electricity is going up for the citizens in the area, right? Because these companies are buying so much electricity, so there is more demand, right? Supply and demand, there's more demand for electricity, ergo, right? The price of electricity goes up. Again, AI companies with $100 billion in funding, they can spend however much they want on electricity. Bitcoin companies, or it's $100,000 for a Bitcoin, they can spend whatever they want on electricity. Oh, you actually have a blue collar job where you have a finite amount of money you get every month? Well, guess what? Your electricity bill just went up so that really rich bastards can get even richer. Oh, and by the way, when you go to buy a car, it's going to cost $2,000 to $10,000 more, because those really rich bastards that are driving up the cost of things like electricity, they really would appreciate a tax break too. I just look at this kind of thing. And again, that's where it's like, I talk about that being Buddhist, right? I think about that like with the middle way. So the idea was Siddhartha, right? Siddhartha was Buddha. I talk about Siddhartha. Siddhartha was the man. Buddha is the myth. I don't care about myths. I care about men. Anyway, so Siddhartha was a noble person, right? Noble person, young, doing the stuff they do in India. They had all the being a noble person in India in a certain time period, right? They had the good drugs. They had the Kama Sutra. They had some good stuff going on. Anyways, he was always in his palace. And one day he left his palace and he saw the desolation around him. Again, India. Whew. India's India. Anyway, so he left his palace, went out there, saw the desolation. He was like, I can't handle this. I cannot handle living this amazing life while everybody else is so miserable. So then he went out. So he went out and he was with the mystics, and he was with the people like trying to come to terms with his own brain, right? He was out there and he was dirty and he was hungry and he was doing the whole poor thing, right? He had been rich and then he was poor. And so one day he's under the Bodhi tree, right? He's under the Bodhi tree by a river. And he notices this little boy. This little boy runs in the river and starts playing in the river and having fun, enjoying himself, the whole 9 yards. And that's the idea, is the concept there is when Siddhartha saw this, he was like, oh, you don't have to be one way or the other. You don't have to be massively rich and consuming all these resources. You also don't have to be fucking starving and dirty as shit, right? What if you're like this little boy that you eat enough, you enjoy yourself enough, you take what's called the middle way, the middle path. And I just think about that more and more again. It's weird as you get older, like the religion that seems asininely stupid when you're 15 starts to take on more meaning when you get to be about 50. Because the more I look around, again, as a Buddhist, and the more, again, the whole idea with desire and ego, And just in the current time period, when you look at social media, so many people are consumed with the social media. Again, this whole thing, right? Everybody needs to talk, but nobody is listening. And at the exact same time, they're becoming more miserable, right? You know, the young people in our society are more suicidal than ever. I mean, like, think about this fundamentally. We are the wealthiest society in the world, right? They will never shut up about us being the wealthiest society in the world. Now, if you have a heart attack, you'll die on the side of the street. But hey, you know, Elon Musk has a lot of money. So anyways, right? You always hear about we're the wealthiest society in the world. And yet, our young people are committing more suicide than ever. Our young people literally think sex is optional. Again, and before, you know, getting away from puritanical crap, getting away from Kama Sutra crap, right? Sex is what keeps our society going. Our society does not run on gasoline or on AI or on data or even on ho-hos. Society actually runs off of sex. Society does not keep moving forward. And yet people do the deal. And yet we have these young people that are more suicidal than ever. And literally, it's not even that sex is optional anymore. A lot of them are like, nah, holy fuck. What have you done to your society when the act of procreation is kind of seen as you know, that's what boomers did. Yeah, jackass, that's why you're alive. Anyways, and I just look at that again, that social media and how it's driving people to insanity and despair and the spiral of death. And I look at again all of this stuff that we're going for. More. We have to be superior. We must be superior. And we're doing so much to be superior. We've lost basic livability. Again, think about this with, you know, our healthcare system and food and all that. And then realize we're about to spend $1 trillion this year, or the next budget, I suppose, $1 trillion on the Defense Department. Our military is going to get $1 trillion because China, man, right? We got to spend $1 trillion so that we have the most advanced military in the world because of China, man. And how many of our citizens are going to soup kitchens, non-profit soup kitchens and food banks simply to get fed? Something like 5.5 million students that came out with student loans. Their loans are about to go into forbearance. Now, the government is actually about to start going after them for loans not being repaid. And think about this, right? Deans of universities are not going to jail. Professors are not being sued into bankruptcy. Right? The administrators of universities are not being barred from ever working in a public institution again for fraud and negligence. Right? The people that created and pushed forward a system that bankrupted a generation of our youth get to keep every dime of their ill-gotten gains. Right? But the children that were swindled out of their futures are about to get punished because they don't have enough money to pay back, the people that defrauded them. Is this really the future that we want to be moving towards? And that's where, again, like I said, I look at this whole artificial intelligence thing, and hundreds of billions of dollars are going into it. All this energy, all of these resources are going into this thing that is not going to build a single new house. Let's see, Memphis, Tennessee. Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company is belching smog-forming pollution into an area of South Memphis that already leads a state and emergency department visits for asthma. I mean, hell, if you're going to pollute the shit out of an area, you might as well pollute an area that's already been polluted. None of the 35 methane gas turbines that help power xAI's massive supercomputer is equipped with pollution controls typically required by federal rules. The company has no Clean Air Act permits. Well, that's a good thing, because Elon Musk eviscerated the federal government, so he does not have to worry about the regulators that he fired going after his ass. And again, listen to this, and then think about what Elon Musk did to Doge, right? In just 11 months since the company arrived in Memphis, xAI has become one of Shelby County's largest emitters of smog-producing nitrogen oxides, according to calculations by environmental groups whose data has been reviewed by Politico. The plant is in an area whose air is already considered unhealthy due to smog. The turbines spew nitrogen oxides, also known as NOx, at an estimated rate of 1,200 to 2,000 tons a year, far more than the gas-fired power plant across the street or the oil refinery down the road. That's according to calculations by the Southern Environmental Law Center, which used turbine manufacturer specs to estimate xAI's annual emissions and compare them with pollution that other South Memphis plants have reported. The turbines were necessary to get the third version of the company's AI chatbot up and running in time, Musk said at the product's launch in February, adding, quote, "We have generators on the side of the building, just trailer after trailer of generators until we can get the utility power to come in." He has not publicly addressed the pollution concerns and did not respond to requests for comment about the turbines powering the plant and their lack of pollution controls. Why the hell should he care about the pollution being created by his artificial intelligence venture? Don't you understand? This is an existential threat to the United States, right? You can suffocate on your own air, because if we do not develop AI, if Elon Musk does not make another few $100 billion, that will be the downfall of our society. Let's see, just 3 miles away in Boxton, a secluded neighborhood that officially became blah, blah, blah. I can't breathe at home. It smells like gas outside, Boxton resident Alexis Humphreys said through tears, holding up her asthma inhaler during a public hearing about the turbines on April 25th. How come I can't breathe at home and you all get to breathe at home? Together, the turbines produce enough energy to power 280,000 homes. xAI has been relying on them because the data processing center's voracious appetite for energy has outpassed electricity utilities' ability to serve it. The turbines are only temporary and don't require federal permits for their emissions of NOx and other hazardous air pollutants like formaldehyde, xAI's environmental consultant Shannon Lind said during a webinar hosted by the Memphis Chamber of Commerce. The argument appears to rely on a loophole in federal regulations that environmental groups and former EPA officials say shouldn't apply to the situation. Right? The reason that we get to poison your ass is because got a loophole. Got a loophole that Elon Musk probably made a hell of a lot bigger while he was destroying stuff with Doge. In January, facing pressure from neighbors and environmental groups, xAI applied for permits for 15 of its turbines, which it says will be permanent. But Lynn said the company will wait until its application is approved before it installs pollution controls on the turbines it keeps on site. That installation, quote, will make xAI the lowest emitting facility in the country, the company's local representative said in a hearing. Blah, blah. Mayo and Lynn didn't respond to calls and have not said publicly how much longer the temporary turbines will remain on site. Musk did not respond for comment. And then it goes through and it talks more about this stuff. But it's kind of interesting to be thinking about, again, with this whole idea with artificial intelligence and this massive push for artificial intelligence, and thinking about what the effects of all this will be. Again, it's not just the servers, it's not just that type of thing. But again, things like the electricity consumption. Beyond that, they're talking about that for cooling plants. So for these data centers, they need water in order to cool them. And they actually need a tremendous amount of water. One of the things about Memphis too is they're talking about that, where they're pulling an absolute crap ton of water out of the ground. And a lot of people are concerned about how much water these plants are being used, And that's where, again, there's like this whole question of as a society, where are we allocating our resources and why? I think about this back in 2010. It's like 2010 back when social media was still new. But social media was new and we were hopeful. We were hopeful about what the future would look like. Oh, we were so dumb. We were dumb and naive. Youngins back then. But I remember that. One of the old timers in the computer world came out, right? One of these people that created ARPANET or C or God knows what. Anyways, came out in 2010. And they were complaining. Old timer came out and was complaining about the modern world. And was essentially saying that the computer technology wasn't solving any real problems, right? Instead of solving, world hunger and solving world peace and all that kind of stuff, we were getting Facebook and Twitter. And I remember I was younger back then. I was a 32-year-old whippersnapper. I was like, oh, you don't understand, old man. Old man, go home. Twitter, Facebook, this is what's got to bind us together. Social media is going to create a new fabric of society. It did do that. Well, let's be clear. It did create a new fabric of society. Anyways, but it was interesting, right? It came out and it was complaining about that again. Like when they were initially building these technologies back in the 70s and the early 80s, right? The vision was so much more for about actually making society better. And instead of that, again, we got Facebook and Twitter and those types of deals. And that's why I just think it now, again, with this massive push for artificial intelligence. Again, we're just talking about, again, each GPU is $40,000. Like Cursor, so one of these companies, again, an AI that allows you to do coding or whatever, they just got like $900 million in funding. $900 million in funding. $900 million. That's not going to be invested into houses. That's not going to be invested in the healthcare system, that type of thing. $900 million. That's just going to be driven into this AI insanity. And you look at them, and you look at OpenAI, and you look at Microsoft, and you look at Google, and how many resources are being driven into marketing garbage. And where does that get us? Again, if we look at 2025, and we just think about the future. We just do a thought experiment about the future. Okay, so we're driving hundreds of billions of dollars into AI. Some of these jackasses want us to drive trillions of dollars into AI. So let's say, what if we drove $1 trillion into AI or more? Again, in 2035, where does that lead to more houses? Where does that lead to cleaner water? Where does that lead to being able to do a full-time job that's less than 40 hours a week? On what path does this insanity of AI deployment actually get us to better lives? And I'm at a bit of a loss. I'm at a bit of a loss when I look at it. But I don't know. Maybe that's me. Maybe that is the price of a totally custom Netflix, right? You turn on Netflix and you get a movie that the AI knows that you're gonna love. And that only costs, 2 or 3 black people, suffocating to death in Memphis. Hey, we have improved our efficiency. Last year, when you watch a custom movie on Netflix, 5 black folks in Memphis were suffocating to death. We've increased our efficiency. Now only 3 are. I mean, is that the path we're on? I just look at like where are we going with this technology development? It's just weird. I think it's maybe it's getting older. Maybe it's getting older. But yeah, technology used to be that bright spot. Technology used to be that exciting thing. Technology used to be like, wow, can't you wait to see what'll happen tomorrow? They're talking about that now, with a lot of kids not wanting to go into technology. Like in school, like the whole STEM thing, kids are actually even turning away from it more and more at this point. Like they're actually becoming disgusted by technology because they look at it and for them, they don't see the improvements. Again, for me, I saw, 30, 40 years of improvements. At least 30 years, maybe 40 years. Things got better and better and better. So again, you got some bad stuff, but it seems like we're going in a good direction. But I gotta say, like over the past decade, again, if you go back to 2015, if you look from 2015 to 2025, is this making our lives better anymore? I don't know. That's my question. That's my pondering. Who the hell knows? And I get the hypocrisy. Hypocrite! I'm sitting here talking to the camera, gonna record this in 4K, gonna upload it to YouTube. Hey, look, my efficiency is much better than artificial intelligence, right? I only suffocate a black infant. Probably shouldn't make those jokes. Eli, that's not funny. It is, isn't it though? Sitting here talking to the camera, like it's horrible. Can you believe Elon Musk is willing to suffocate 3 black people, per AI request? That's absolutely ridiculous. I would never suffocate any more than 1 black infant per one of my requests. Oh, and this is probably why I will never get sponsors again. Eli, hey, you want to get actual sponsors? Yeah, stop saying shit like that. Yeah. But it's true. Anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about xAI burning enough energy for 280,000 homes? What do you think about them using temporary gas generators? They're going to be around for a while. Those temporary ones are going to be around for a while. Don't worry, you only have to suffocate for a year or so. It's going to be a while, right? What do you think about that kind of thing? Again, what do you think about Elon Musk eviscerating the regulatory apparatus that would be able to do something about this, right? Elon Musk buying the right to suffocate poor people. He's not the hero we need. He is the hero we deserve. I don't know. Put all your thoughts down below. Is it ironic? I'm gonna do some classes on AI. I didn't say I got any answers. Don't come to me for answers. I'm just here with questions. Anyways, again, like I said, with Silicon Dojo, we have those self-study classes. So the next series is an artificial intelligence series where I will teach you folks about RAG and CAG and vector databases and all that kind of stuff. So I gotta go play with Supabase now. Supabase seems to be the cool database. All the cool kids seem to be doing Supabase right now. And apparently the vector database component is built into Supabase. So I'm gonna go play with Supabase so that I can create classes to teach you about AI so you too can suffocate black people. Let us all come together as one united community to suffocate black people. Fuck. Kind of reminds me with the, you ever see a South Park episode? There's a South Park episode, and it was like the city flag for South Park. Whereas all these like stick figures, there's like all these stick figures, and they were like black stick figures, and they were all around like somebody being hanged, somebody being lynched. And so there's this huge argument in South Park about needing to change the flag. And so anyways, you go all the way through it, and then basically at the end, the decision the kids come up with is that instead of having black stick figures all around somebody being lynched, they basically made them like rainbow color stick figures all around somebody being lynched, because therefore it wasn't racist anymore. See, when you have all of one color lynching the other color, that's racist. When you have a rainbow of colors lynching somebody, that's community. Anyways, I'm gonna go now while I still have a YouTube channel. I'm gonna go while I still have a YouTube channel. See y'all later.